Hi, my name is Devlin, and this is Shadow. Shadow is new to dog training, and we're introducing Shadow to the Dog Star training program. One of the key features in the program is called the Magic Spot. And in fact, I just released an ebook called the Magic Spot. So when you get a chance, go on Kindle, Amazon, and download your copy. But I'm going to demonstrate to you some of the benefits today. As a matter of fact, right now, we want Shadow to be relaxed for this intro. And Shadow is very excited, is young, and is just being introduced to obedience training. So I'm going to introduce Shadow to the Magic Spot, which is teaching my dog to be relaxed at my left side, ready for training or the next command. So the first command that comes into play is sit. So I've got my high value treat. For most dogs, a high value treat is going to be meat or some sort of meaty treat. And so I'm going to take that treat and glide my hand in the shape of an arc so that I can get Shadow's head to go up following the treat. And as Shadow's head goes up, the butt tends to go down. But if it doesn't, I'll use my left hand to help. Now that I've got Shadow focused on a reward and seated and positioned with a front paw slightly behind my left ankle, Shadow's technically now in the Magic Spot, ready to receive her obedience training. Good girl. Now, some of the commands and markers that I'm going to be using throughout this training program very often are going to be yes and no. Yes lets Shadow know that a reward is deserved. So, for example, when I say, Shadow, sit, I'm going to say yes and offer a reward at the same time. Now, right now, for your beginner training, it's all going to seem blended together. But as you differentiate as the trainer, those exact moments when things are happening the way you want it, your dog's going to begin to learn what each command means. So, for example, Shadow, sit. Yes. Right at the moment when the butt touches the ground and the reward comes just 1 second later. Good. Now, part of training is preventing unwanted behaviors. So I'm going to have a short leash, and I'm going to discourage my dog from getting up, as well as encourage my dog to remain seated with the reward. And both of those behaviors together from the trainer, or actions or redirections together from the trainer, allows my dog to learn where the magic spot is and how to remain there for me. Yes, good girl. So as we went through in our last video, I showed you that this position here is called the agreement. The position my dog is in is called the magic spot. And the routine that we're practicing is called routine 1. And routine 1 encompasses the agreement and watch me. So every time my dog gets up, I'm going to remind her to stay seated by either pulling up and pushing down on the butt or using or gesturing with my reward. Okay, now as I gesture with that reward, I'm going to go right into my next command, which is watch me, which is gaining focus and attention. So when I want focus and attention, I'm going to use the command watch me and teach my dog to give me eye contact. So we're going to pretend that there's an invisible line that's going from my nose to my dog's snout. Now, it's often good to make a sound that's attractive to your dog, like a click or a whistle, to get their attention. And once that eye contact comes, then you're going to drop that treat straight down so that they know that they're getting rewarded for that particular behavior. Now, that's actually called marking the behavior. Yes, watch me. Good girl. Watch me. Yes, good girl. So I'm marking the behavior because every time she gives me that reward, every time she gives me the behavior I want, I'm going to say yes and give her the reward no more than 1 second later. Shadow, watch me. Yes. Watch me. Yes. Yes. And we're working on getting Shadow to focus. Now, Shadow doesn't exactly know what commands mean just yet because Shadow's just learning and just starting with her obedience training. However, I want to introduce the command sit and the command watch me. So what I've created is a 6-step routine to introduce the most important commands that you want your beginner dog to know. Some of those most important commands that you want your beginner dog to know would be sit, stay, come, down, And then for some of us, we can even get into commands like fetch me. You can get into commands like relax, no jump, place, touch. So there are a ton of commands that a beginner dog can get into, but the most basic ones we're going to introduce right now. And what I've developed is a 6-step routine that if you practice with your dog daily, your dog is going to go from beginner to advanced relatively smoothly. And you're going to avoid mixed signals and unwanted behaviors and reinforcing the wrong behaviors that you didn't want to see. So for example, a lot of times our dogs don't know when they're on command, so to speak, and when they're in a casual mode. And so what I've done is I've created casual time training and formal time training moments. So for my dog to know, whenever the leash is on, my dog is going to understand as a beginner that I'm expecting some sort of training. So Shadow's having fun here. I wish people wouldn't throw garbage on the beach because it really is, it's gross. But anyway, so I'm going to introduce Shadow to the magic spot. And the magic spot specifically is teaching your dog to remain at your left side, seated, relaxed, and ready for the next exercise or for a greeting or for whatever you have planned, but essentially following your lead without constantly pulling and trying to walk away. So I'm going to use a high value treat to encourage my dog to come back to me. And from that point, I'm going to encourage my dog to remain on the left side. All right. Matter of fact, now Shadow's super interested in this toy. So the idea here is use whatever your dog likes. So let's see if this coconut is going to make a difference compared to the treat. Sit. Shadow. Right here. Sit. Yes. 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 Good job. Yes. Now you notice whenever Shadow puts that butt on the ground, I'm saying yes and I'm giving the reward. And when that butt raises up, then I remove the reward. And then I also keep a short leash to prevent the unwanted behavior, which is Shadow running off. So I'm going to gesture to Shadow that there's a reward at stake. And if you remain seated or go back into the sit, yes, she's going to get the reward. Now, if you notice too, I'm not saying the command sit just yet. When you're introducing commands to your dog, you want to get the behavior first before you start saying the command, or else you're going to be actually reinforcing unwanted behavior because your dog probably won't be sitting and you'll be saying sit over and over again. So let's watch that sequence again. Finish. Good job. Now what I'm doing here is something called marking the behavior. Reason being is Shadow doesn't know exactly what behaviors I want from her all the way. She has an idea. But in the case of having Shadow seated at my left side in the agreement or at the magic spot, once I get Shadow to commit to sitting, I'm going to give her the reward and essentially release her from the exercise so she knows that's the behavior I wanted. And that's the process there of marking the behavior. Shadow, sit. Now I'm not going to repeat the sit, but I am going to encourage Shadow by pulling up and pushing down. Yes. And then I'm going to give her the reward to mark that behavior. Good job. Now I'm going to repeat the same exercise or the same process using the treat as opposed to the toy.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.